طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على نبينا المجاهد الشهيد خير الخلق أجمعين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن جاهد جهاده إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. We'll start with the first question, inshallah. The first question is not in the Q&A, but I received it through other means. Someone sent it to me beforehand on Telegram, and it's about ghusl al-mayyit. So the question is, this is someone who works in a cemetery, and if the case is that there is someone who has passed away and they are very overweight, so over 250 kilograms, and so it's very difficult to transport them for ghusl. Sheikh, what would your fatwa be in that instance? Is tayammum enough for the mayyit? Because ghusl is very difficult to transport them. They need special equipment for their transport.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah, if washing the body is difficult, people cannot manage. Yeah, no doubt. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed tayammum. So, I don't think there is a problem in just doing tayammum. So they should do tayammum, inshallah.
Inshallah, jazakallah khair. Next question here is from Sophia Rahman. She is asking if you would recommend any books on parenting, if there are any good books that compile the ahadith specifically and stories from the Prophet ﷺ on parenting and how to be good parents.
Okay, there are actually many books written on the tarbiyatul awlad in Arabic language, but I don't know exactly anything in English language. But truth of the matter really is, how to raise your children. It is nothing to do Islamic. It is more universal. Human beings are actually in this world. They by nature, and they know how to raise their children. In Islam, you have a few values that you need to, keep in the mind. Raise your children on those values. That's important. But I don't think that there's any special thing to worry about. People become so much worried, and then they make their children weaker. The society teaches them, environment teaches them, their fitra teaches them. There are so many children, born orphan, and they become very, very good. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was born as orphan. Many. There are so many examples, and there are enough actually in the Quran. If you read Surah Al-Luqman, that will teach you what Luqman taught his son. So, if you keep understanding those values, it will help, inshallah. But anyway, I have done a few courses on how to raise children, and some of the recordings will be in Al-Salam, and that has summarized all the major points that people need to take in mind while raising children. I think that one day course will be enough, inshallah, and there will be many references of the Quran and the sound Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the history of the pious people. So I think that should be helpful, inshallah.
Inshallah, jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Next question from Nihal Abdurrahman. It's about delaying marriage. Is it permissible to delay marriage due to a lack of mental maturity? So someone who's not confident enough in their wisdom and potentially maybe also is not financially ready?
Yeah, for the men, it is conditional that they only should marry if they can afford the marriage financially. And also, mentally, if somebody cannot afford or is not really able to marry, he will create more problem. If you cannot look after your wife, cannot provide accommodation expenses to her, so it will be a lot of problem. And also, if mentally you are not sound, you create so much problem in the family, fighting, argument. Things will not go right. So men should be ready, especially financial. Stability is very important. They should be independent, not depending on their parents or any other relatives or social services. And people should earn money on their own. If you are independent, more likely you can make a family. But if you are not, then you should not do this. Then the best thing is, in order to protect your piety, just keep fasting.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikhna. This is a question relating to history. It's anonymous. Is it true that the Prophet ﷺ died on Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha's shoulder?
Okay, I don't remember exactly how, but he was in the house of Aisha radiallahu anha. That's confirmed. So if you look in the book, authentic book of Sira, you can find. Maybe if I remember next time, I will look. I
Inshallah.
also wrote a book, a short book on the Sira. I don't know what I mentioned there, but I don't think it is important. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ was in the house of Aisha. There's no doubt, and she is his wife, so he can be on the shoulder or on the her leg or anywhere lying because she's wife. So I don't think there's any need to question that.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Sheikh, this is in relation to the hadith. It's a very long question, but I'll explain it quickly. In relation to the hadith where a slave woman was singing a poem in the praise of the Prophet ﷺ. And the gist of the question is, in the hadith, it shows that the Prophet ﷺ was listening to the woman's voice singing before Umar al-Khattab came. And so the person is asking about what this means. Does this mean that the voice of a woman is not awrah? Or he quotes here Surah Al-Ahzab and says there is evidence in Surah Al-Ahzab that the voice of a woman is awrah. So if you could just clarify, that story and what it means.
First thing, understand that the voice of the woman, actually, there's no in Surah Al-Ahzab does not mention the voice of the woman, awrah. Surah Al-Ahzab only said when men come to your house, when you talk to them, make your voice firm, so they don't become interested in you. So sometimes women, talk in a very polite and soft manner. So some men can be interested in them. They think, maybe, they like them. But if you make your voice firm, then nothing like that. So Surah Ahzab doesn't say that voice of the women awrah. Surah Ahzab said women can talk to the men, but they need to be firm. And in whole Quran, there are so many women's stories who talk to the men. And also in the Sirah of the Prophet ﷺ, the women always have been talking to the men. And throughout Islamic history, men and women have been learning from each other, teaching, going for jihad, businesses, trading, buying and selling. All these things happen together. So this thing that a voice of the women awrah, there's no single proof for this, in any source or any history at all. That's why Ibn Hajar Asqalani in Fathul Bari is very shocked when people say the voice of women awrah. He said, we always have been learning from women, and nobody ever said something like that. So this is not right. When the Prophet ﷺ came to house of Aisha anha on the day of Eid, so there were two, young girls. They are not. I don't think they're adult, like 7-year-old or something like that, or 6-year-old. Just children. So they were singing, and then Abu Bakr Siddiq came, and so he became little angry about that. But not that grown women singing and the Prophet listening. No, it is jariyatan, meaning these are young, very young girl. And the Prophet did not mind because the people are just Eid, they're celebrating, they're happy, so they're singing part of that. But we don't have any proof that the Prophet ﷺ ever heard the song of the older ladies.
So on that, Sheikh, just to follow up, would you say that the singing of a woman, so the specific, voice change that involves singing, would change her voice from being adi to being awrah? Or is there any evidence that the singing of a woman is awrah specifically?
Actually, the word awrah does not come for the voice anyway. It's not awrah. But what we're saying is that Quran does not like women talking to the men in a way that men become interested in them. So if singing generally is a good voice, people love that, like that. So that why one should be careful about. But if the women read poetry in normal voice, or they read the Quran in normal voice, there's no harm in that. But when they beautify and they make it more attractive, that where we should be very careful, because some people, their hearts are sick. So when they hear this, they become more inclined to. We don't want that thing happen in the society. Just we want people to be aware and careful. But I don't think that we can say the voice of the women awrah.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Once again, I'm going to have to summarize this question because it's very long, written in multiple comments. But essentially, this person is asking the command to not come near zina, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Based on this verse, there are different opinions on gender interactions. Some people take the opinion of sadd al-dhara'i' and they say min bab, avoiding zina completely, then you should severely limit gender interactions. And so they put everything under that category. And then other people say, no, you should have more healthy interactions between men and women, so long as it doesn't lead to adultery. Could you just give some opinion on that?
Whatever the Quran commands and teaches, it was practice, put in practice by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That why the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is very important. Otherwise, if people separate the Quran from the Sunnah, you can interpret the Quran as you like. Anybody can go any extreme. Some people can, do la taqrabu zina means, women, men even could not see the women, and some people go, other extreme. The way is, look what happened in Medina when these verses revealed what the Prophet ﷺ did in Medina. That's what we need to follow. The problem is, Muslims don't want to learn about the Medina. So when Quran went everywhere without the city of Medina, that what create problem. People need to transmit Quran and the Sunnah of the city of Medina. That's why Imam Malik said the Amal of Medina is important. So whenever you teach Quran anywhere, teach also people that the city in which Quran was revealed, how the Quran was practiced. So this is very, very important. If you separate the Quran from the Medina, then confusion will remain. In Medina, women used to come to the prayer in the mosque. They used to do i'tikaf. They used to go for shopping. They used to do farming. They used to do trade and business. They used to be in the streets. They also went for jihad, fighting. This is so where so much interaction between men and women. They were traveling to them together with the men and doing wudu from the same container together. So many interactions you can. They should doing tawaf together in the haram. Until now, that practice continues. So all this is happening. So when you read the verse "La taqrabu zina," don't exceed the limit. The Quran said, "La tuqaddimu bayna illahi wa rasulihi." Don't move ahead of the Prophet. Just follow the Prophet. Start from where he started and stop where he stopped. Don't do from your own desire. So the best thing is whenever you read anything from the Quran, see how the Prophet ﷺ practiced in the city of Medina. That such practice of the city of Medina, that what is Sunnah. That is the Amal. That means how Quran should be practiced. So don't separate the Quran from the city of Medina. That is the mistake done by many people, and so many confusion happen, so many bid'at happen. So we always advise people that whatever you read in the Quran, see how the Prophet ﷺ acted, how the companions acted upon that. They are the chosen people, the best people. And the Quran said, Aminu kama amanan nas. Believe as the companions believed. So companions are like a model example for all the believers all over the world. So always keep city and the city of Medina your mind.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Sheikh, this is a question that I'm going to generalize a little bit, and apologies for the language used, but it's used quite commonly. So this person is asking, essentially, what does the term dayyuth mean? If someone allows his spouse to speak with men that are his relatives or colleagues of the opposite gender, and in a decent and general way, or even today online, for example, if someone shows a picture of his spouse online, there is, the accusation and people say the word dayyuth, apologies for the term. Sheikh, can you give some clarification on what the term means and how it should be used?
Yeah, the youth in Arabic language is opposite of the word ghayyur. Ghayra is, when you have, your honor, your religion, so you want to, protect it. You don't want really you to be dishonored, or your religion should be harmed. So ghayra and the deen will mean really that, the Quran and the Sunnah, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the prayers, you should make the best efforts possible to do them. And if people waste your prayer or something like that, and you don't mind, then you don't have ghaira. Similarly, people have got their family, their mother, their sisters, daughters, wives. So you should let them to use the space, but at the same time, nobody should dishonor them. So, and if you dishonor them and you don't feel anything and don't defend them, then you are the youth, because it's your duty to defend them. So, for example, if your sister is passing by the street and some men come and touch them, so yeah, and you don't mind that. That's very bad manner. That then basically means you have no ghaira. You have no right to defend your sisters. So whereas your wife, if she is traveling on the plane or maybe on train, or some people come and touch her or maybe kiss her or something like that, and you are happy, you accept that, then you are the youth. But in normal life, it will happen. You can't stop the people from a space from using the space. Why said the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they used to go outside. Aisha radiallahu anha in the battle of Badr, Uhud, I think she was running, giving the water to the injured people while her part of legs were shown, because that their need for that. The women of the companies used to do business and trade, and they used to be in the shops in the market of Medina. That's not the youth. The youth is when somebody affects your honor, your religion, and you don't care about that. Don't worry. So the like happening in in the modern society. There are people have gone such extreme that people even don't mind if other people sleep with their wives or something like that. So these things really very dangerous. That should not happen. So physical touching or kissing or something like that with desire, sometime could be something else, I don't know really, but with the desire, that word should be. But if somebody talking in decent way, learning, teaching, I don't think there is any harm in that. If you stop that, then the society cannot function.
Yes, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Next question is just a quick one. The common mistakes that people make in Salah that require sajdat sahu at the end, whether they're minor or major, specifically the ones that would require sajdat sahu.
Yeah, this is actually very difficult really to do, to understand them properly, deeply, because the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, just he did a sajda on mistakes. But what the mistakes could be, that there's some different opinion. Hanafi people think that there are things in the prayer which are fard and there are things which are wajib. If you miss fard, then your prayer becomes invalid. You have to repeat it. But if you miss wajib, then you can repair it by doing sajdatul sahw. What they mean by wajib is something like, for example, you did not read Surah Fatiha, or you did not in the first two rakah of the fard, you read Surah Fatiha, but you did not add any surah, or qunut, you did not do qunut, or you did not sit, in the first two rakah. So something like that, which is wajib in Hanafi madhab, if you miss them, or order, so for example, you did sajda before the ruku or something like that. So these things are wajib in Hanafi madhab. If people miss wajib, then they must do sajdatul sahu. By doing that, their prayer becomes repaired, and and it becomes good and acceptable, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Ustad. Next question here is, there are hadiths about protesting against the ruler, the concept of al-khuruj an al-hakim. Is there more to context to be understood? Is there more to understand about this? So if a ruler is a Muslim and he commits cruelty and corruption, do we have to obey this person regardless?
The thing is, creating disorder in the society is very dangerous, very, very dangerous. It creates a lot of problem. So, and if people are left to decide who is a cruel and who is then everybody, judge about the people, and they do khuruj and they create, a disorder in society, facade in society. So that's why we have to be very, very careful using these terms. It should be referred to the ulama, pious people. They decide, and and if the al-khuruj is only allowed if you think it is more likely going to succeed, otherwise it will create more problem. Because if the rulers they defeat you, then they will kill one after the other, and they become more and more strict, as happened in many Muslim countries. So people, it should not happen. That's why the Prophet said, as long as they allow you to keep the prayer, don't rebel, because he knows the rebellion will mean a lot of fitna and a lot of problem. But anyway, I don't think I can answer this question properly in this short session. The best thing is wherever you live, ask the pious ulama, the ulama who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those who know the religion properly.
No. Okay, Jazakallah khair. There's another question here. It's a question. Is it true that the Prophet ﷺ said that if prostration was allowed for humans, he would command women to prostrate to their husbands? What does that mean?
Yeah, I have discussed this hadith so many times, really, and maybe I've written somewhere. So none of these hadiths are sound. The most famous one is hadith of Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. That is the people's more sound one. But even that has so many problems. The Mu'adh bin Jabal comes from Syria, and he does sajda to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet said, what are you doing? He said he has seen a priest in Syria, that people doing sajda to their priest, Christian priest in Syria. So you are, for us, you are better than them. So the Prophet said, if I have to command anyone to do sajda, I would command, women to do sajda to their husband. That was the hadith said. And there are many other hadiths, but they are too weak. They're like fabricated. This one is relatively better. But even this one has so many problems. The first problem is Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he never went to Syria in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that story cannot stand. He only went to Yemen. People say, okay, maybe when he came from Yemen, he did sajda. But the truth is, when he went to Yemen, he never came. He only came after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He never came his lifetime. And Mu'adh bin Jabal is great alim. So how can you do such mistake? And also, if you read the Quran, the rights of parents are most important after the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the time in the Quran. So how can, if the Prophet did not allow sajda to the parent, how can he think about a husband or wife? To these things, and there are many problems in this hadith I discussed it. So none of these hadith are sound, and nobody is allowed to do sajda to anybody. And women have only to obey their husbands in lawful matters, not in every single thing. So for example, if the husbands have no right to tell their wives what to eat, what to drink, which must have to follow, who to make friends. All these things are women's choice. They do whatever like. But in the family matters, limited matters, there should be obedience, because you can't run a family without somebody being a boss. But even then, men have to consult the women. They can't just dictate them. So anyway, the hadith that you refer, none of them are sound.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Just one quick announcement just about the Uzbekistan trip that is coming up with Al-Salam. As part of the Islamic Heritage Tours, there's going to be a tour of Uzbekistan from Saturday the 24th of May to Sunday the 1st of June on the short package, or to the 3rd of June on the longer package, which includes Tirmiz. We're going to be going with Shaykh Akram, inshallah, and I just wanted to announce from here that there are last few spaces remaining, and the deadline for registration is coming up soon. So for anyone who's interested, please do register as soon as possible. Jazakallah khair. Two more questions. One relating to something you answered just earlier about learning from the people of Medina. So someone has asked, where can I learn the context of the Quran and the life of the Prophet in Medina in relation to the actions of Amal Ahl Medina? Are there any sources that you would recommend, books, journals, and so on?
Yeah, there are many actually, but the most important one is like Muwatta Malik, Imam Malik rahmallah records all the practice of the people of Medina, the most sound one. There are many of them in Bukhari as well. Imam Bukhari, besides the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also records many practices. And then you have got these two books, Musannaf Abdul Razak, Musannaf Ibn Bishayba, which record a huge number of the narrations about the time of the Prophet in Medina, the Sahaba and Tabi'een, their women, their wives, all those things. So you can learn these things. Just see how the women used to be in Medina, how the people used to talk, how they used to move. You don't find this extremism. We last week we were doing a class of Bukhari. Imam Bukhari has got a chapter heading Babu Naumil Mar'ati fil Masjid. So the women are even allowed to sleep in the masjid. When actually in Medina mosque there used to be men, nearly 70 men so far. They used to sleep, but women also can sleep in the masjid. And the mosque was small. So you can see the society was normal society. we people don't learn how to be normal. That's the problem really is. Our religion has become very old practices. In normal society, men and women live together, but at the same time, piety, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and respect everybody, and don't exceed your limit, don't cross the boundaries. These things are important, but you can't stop the society from functioning. Because women need to go outside, women need to do many things. Sometimes women are widows, they don't have anybody to look after them. They need to earn money. Actually, even if they're not widows, anybody has right to earn money and to have income. So it is important to see what the society. In Muwatta Malik, a lady asked Imam Malik, when if I'm eating with my husband and my ex-husband comes, can I ask him to eat with me? Imam Malik says, why not? Men and women always have been eating together. To see, ex-husband is not related to her. He's not mahram. He's not husband. Still, he can eat with her in the same plate. Arabs used to eat in the same plate. So that how Islam has been flexible. So don't exceed the limit. Always make effort to follow the Quran, Sunnah, and obey the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and don't prove to be better than him.
Since we have 2 minutes left, I'm going to ask a bit of a fun question, one that's about you, Sheikh. This question asks, what's your favorite book? I mean, let's assume besides the Quran, طبعا, what would you say your favorite book is?
From different contexts, really, there are so many books. I don't think why you should say that we should not say about the Quran. The Quran should be said directly all the time. So that is the most important thing, really. People should learn about the Quran, spend more time, because I don't think anybody can correct your mind and make you to think properly better than the Quran. So the Quran should be always central in the mind of the believers. And the second book that really helped me so much is Sahih Bukhari. Is a great book, really, and great intelligence and so much details. It makes you clever and proper scholarly work, and in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these things are important for the people to learn. Then after that, I learned. I always recommend people to read Siyar Alamin Novel of Zahabi, that actually biographies of the early people that helped, and then Sayyidul Khatir of Ibn Jawzi, which is really important points from his own experience. They change your life, they change your mind. They should read that. And also the book that helped me a lot is Al-Raddu ala Mataqiyin, the book of Ibn Taymiyyah, when he refutes Greek logic. So that actually makes very clear what is the limits of human reasoning, how far it can go, or how we can understand really what is the sound reasoning and what is not sound reasoning. That's a great book. It helped me a lot. And there are a few others, but these are the most important things that can come to my mind now.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, we'll end here. Jazakumullah kull khair, Sheikhna. Wabarakallahu fikum wa fi ilmikum wa naf'ana bikum da'iman, inshallah. And we'll end with this very short dua. Allahumma arham shuhadana wa shuhada al-muslimin. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.